Now, the US retailer GameStop's Christmas commercial had an awful lot of screaming in it.
I think they're really gonna... Love these.
Me too.
And now it's the cause of screaming on Wall Street. The struggling company's shares suddenly rocketed, not because it's doing well, despite the advert, it really isn't, but because members of a Reddit message board apparently decided to teach investment banking a lesson. Now there's screaming on all sides, as some say laws are being broken, others say no one's done anything wrong, regulators may be called in, and suddenly everyone's a stock market expert. Well, we've got a real one. Gary Stevenson made so much money trading in London, he retired at 27. Now he's an economist who specialises in examining inequality, and he thinks that's what's been exposed here. He's with me now. Gary, you've probably answered this question a lot over the last few days, but can you explain as simply as possible what happened with GameStop?
Yeah, that's no problem at all, David. That's the question that everybody wants to know right now. Okay, so let's keep it nice and simple. What is short selling? Short selling is a way that you can make money from the price of a stock going down. Now, if you think the price of a stock is going to go up, it's easy. You go out, you buy the stock, it goes up, you sell it. But if it's going to go down, what do? Because you can't sell it if you don't have it. The way it works is you find someone who does have it, you borrow it, say for a week, for example, the way you might borrow a library book, and then you sell it. And then you hope to buy it back within the week. You buy it for a lower price than you sold it and you make a profit. That's how it works. Short selling is you borrow it, you sell it, you buy it back later, hopefully for cheaper.
And that's what's been happening with GameStop, which is a company that a lot of investors don't think will perhaps even survive for much longer. So they started to short sell it. And then this group on Reddit decided, hold on, that's immoral. Started buying loads of shares, and suddenly instead of going down, the stock price went right up.
Yeah, I think it's important to get a bit of broader context here. In the US, just like here, loads of people, they can't work. They've lost their jobs because of COVID. They're sitting at home, and they are sitting at home making no money, getting relatively small stimulus checks, and they're watching the stock market go through the roof. So this mad situation where ordinary people are sitting at home, they can't even work a job, they're struggling to look after their families, and the billionaires and multimillionaires are making billions and multi-millions on the stock markets, and they want to get involved. So they're out there on the internet, and they've converged on this one website, Reddit, which is a popular messaging board all over the world, especially in the US. There's clearly some very well-informed people here, and they said, look, these hedge funds have put massive short positions on GameStop. If we all get together as a group and we buy enough GameStop stock, then this is what is known as the classic short squeeze. I know you've got a short position, so I run the price up, and when the time comes you need to buy it back, well, you have to pay me whatever I ask for it. And this has happened before. If you look in the 80s, there was a big short squeeze in gold massively. It does happen from time to time, although it's not normally managed by messaging boards on the internet.
What about the role of these relatively new apps, things like Robinhood, which had to take action to stop people buying and selling stock in GameStop? What kind of role have these had in... I think the idea was to democratize Wall Street and investment banking. Have they had a good influence?
You know what, David, I'm really happy you asked me that, because on the one side, we have this situation, and it's not just this last year, it's been happening for 10 years. Stock markets have gone up about 3 or 4 times, 5 times, depending on what country you look at it, since 2008. And in that time, have wages gone up 5 times? Definitely not. So we've had this situation where the rich are doing really well on stock markets and also property markets, for example, whereas ordinary people are not making money. So giving ordinary people access to stock markets, it has to be seen as a good thing. But at the same time, there is a really dangerous side to this. Now, in the last 1 year, the number of people using online spread betting websites in this country has exploded. And that's for a variety of reasons, right? People can't work. There's no football. People want to bet on something. But also, people are struggling financially, and they see how well super rich people are doing on the stock market, and they want to be involved. My concern is when they use these online spread betting websites, they don't really know what they're doing. They're not getting good advice. They're getting dragged into it. I know people, they're trading all the time. And essentially, I think there are people out here who are potentially developing a gambling addiction, and it can be really dangerous. And look, a gambling addiction is a serious thing, can ruin families, can ruin lives. And, people can lose their housing deposits, their kids' university funds. So I'd just like to really caution people out there looking at things like Bitcoin as well, for example, or GameStop, thinking, oh my God, I'm missing out. I need to get involved in this. please be cautious. They're calling them meme stocks on the internet. If you're hearing about it in the news, it's probably too late to make money from it. I wish it was as easy as that. But please, people out there listening to this, be careful. Don't rush in there. Don't gamble more than you can afford to lose. And these investments that are in the news right now, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, definitely GameStop, are very risky investments. And I would, to be honest, advise ordinary people to stay out or at least invest very, very, very sensibly.
Is there going to be a fallout from this, Gary? Is there going to be change? Will regulators have to get involved?
Well, I mean, I would love to have been a fly on the wall in the Robinhood offices when they decided to ban trading. I'm sure if you were to ask Robinhood, they would say they are protecting their customers from extreme volatility. And, like I've just said, this is potentially dangerous for customers. So they've got their right to say that. I don't know what's true or what's false, but there is definitely possibility there's going to be regulation. I go on this Reddit message board. They insist they're going to do a class action lawsuit against Robinhood. I've got no idea whether that's going to happen. What I do think is important is to realize that this is not a one-off. It's going to keep happening. And that is because of the way that governments have dealt with the coronavirus crisis. Now, the money they used for the furlough scheme, for example, they didn't raise taxes and they didn't borrow that money. They simply printed it at the Bank of England. And that means there's been a flood of extra cash into the system. That cash is swilling around and it's largely sitting with richer people. And it's a huge amount. It's £10,000 per adult in this country that's been printed. And it's the same in the US, or a similar amount. That money swilling around is sitting with richer people. They're going to use it to push up stock markets, to push up property prices, and ordinary people are going to want to get involved in that. So I think people need to be aware that that's what's happening. That's what the government's doing, and it is going to affect ordinary people.
And that's The Leader. We're back at 4 p.m. on Monday. See you then.